Temple Beth, and all those of you who are tuning in virtually for our Yom HaShoah Remembrance Service tonight. First of all, what is Yom HaShoah? Yom HaShoah is the Holocaust Remembrance Day instituted in the state of Israel in 1951, commemorates the 6 million Jews who got murdered by the Nazis in the Holocaust in Europe. And the name, Yom HaShoah means the day of destruction or the day of the catastrophe. In Israel, the full name is actually called Yom HaShoah, the day of the destruction and also of bravery. The day that got chosen is actually the day of the Warsaw Ghetto Uprising. So it was actually very highly symbolic, and also showing that very often this depiction the Jews were led like lambs to the slaughter. No, they're actually fighting back. The Jews were actually standing up for themselves, fighting and defending themselves as well. So this is the full name. And tonight we are going to be having an evening of readings, some art and music that we put together. So it's going to be somewhat different from the usual programs and services here, but this is the way we want to commemorate this. We begin with silence, the silence of death, silence after destruction. There are times when songs falter and darkness fills life, when martyrdom becomes a constellation of faith. Again, the unrelieved black space about us. There are no words to reach beyond the edge of night, no messenger to tell the full tale. There is only silence, the silence of Job. Silence of the 6 million. Silence of memory. About to light 6 memorial candles symbolically for the 6 million. Remember 6 million Jews, those of other religions, all sexualities, political beliefs, all those considered imperfect and different. All our fellow human beings that were murdered. The memory blessing. At home, I would deal cats, age 12, was when he died, or rather when he was murdered. Someday we shall outrun this hour. Someday there will be comfort for us, and hope again burst into flower. Peace and darling care restore us. The jug of tears will break and still, and death be ordered. Hush, be still.
Wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Fried, bei jenem das Leben ist schön, dem zweiten vor was bringt das Leid. Wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Fried. Ich war lang nicht kein Sach, ich bet nur bei euch, wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Glück. wünscht mir a bissle Fried, bei jenem das Leben ist schön, dem Zweiten war was bringt das Leid, wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Fried. Ich war lang nicht kein Sach, bet nur bei euch, wünscht mir a bissle Glück. Ich verlang nicht kein Häuser, ich verlang nicht kein Geld, ich dar nicht kein Luxus, nicht auf dem steht die Welt. Möchtest haben Millionen, das ist nicht genug, der Riecher ist bläut mir das bissele Glück. Schreit nur Gewalt, machen mich reich, ich bet nur das eine bei euch, wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Fried, bei jenem das Leben ist schön, dem Zweiten war was bringt das Leid, wünscht mir a bissle Glück, wünscht mir a bissle Fried. Ich war lang nicht kein Sach, bet nur bei euch, wünscht mir a bissle Glück.
As you came in today, you noticed all the little yellow flags outside on the temple lawn. Just going to become a custom here to the synagogue to put 6,000 yellow flags out to symbolize, commemorate the 6 million victims, Jewish victims of the Holocaust. Also at this point, thank you to everybody who helped. There were a couple of volunteers who put these out to see the sheer dimensions of the lives that were lost. Thanks. Poems, artwork that Cantor found and put together, and we'll let him explain.
Thank you. This first poem is by Jeffrey Hill. It was written in 1994, September Song. Born 19/6/32, deported 24/9/42. Undesirable you may have been, untouchable you were not forgotten or passed over at the proper time. As estimated, you died. Things marched sufficient to that end. Just so much Zyklon and leather, patented terror, so many routine cries. I have made an elegy for myself, it is true. September fattens on vines, roses flake from the wall. The smoke of harmless fires drifts to my eyes. This is plenty. This is more than enough. I had the honor of reading about the power of children's art this year as we prepared for our service this evening, and there is a woman, an amazing woman, Friedel Dicker Brandeis. She was an avant-garde painter and teacher in Prague, Czechoslovakia. And on December 16th, 1942, Friedel was transported to Terezin. Understanding the power of art to sustain hope, she spent her days with children, helping them to rise above their horrifying situation and finding pleasure and dignity in themselves through art.
Following slides compile a couple of these works of the kids that were in the camps and put together these pieces of art. This first one here is called Flowers in a Vase by Kitty Pasarova-Levy. It's a collage. She was 11 years old back then. It's actually made a painting using a piece of ledger paper that they actually snatched from some of the Nazi camp administrative offices. It was actually a piece. So this collage was actually put together by this young girl, and she was using some of the ledger paper that the officers were using there. So you can see on the bottom there, this is actually a strap from these binders. So they're really trying to make do with whatever materials they could find and taking these parts that were there to suppress them. They were literally there to keep them organized, as they called it, the organizer, the ledgers, but literally turned them into an expression of art. So this is the first one that we want to share. The second one here is another collage. This time we don't know the artist, we only know the caption that the work has. It says, "Carl is sick," and reads aloud. You can see there is no scrap of paper that got unused. It was unused, and it's showing some of the three-tiered bunk that the kids were sleeping in at the camps there, and some of the ladders and also part of the bed. The beds and pieces were all made from that paper.
The next is a train traveling through a night landscape by Alice Gutamanova, who was murdered at age 15. It's made in charcoal, and it's a train hurtling through the night, carrying the prisoners into the unknown. Many of the students would draw pictures, same pictures, over and over and over again. But as they worked with her, she was able to bring out some of the beauty, and later Alice created artwork of color and light, but this is earlier when she first came to the camp. This is Landscape by Robert Bondi, who was murdered at age 12. It's a watercolor, and he painted these empty landscapes over and over again with his village in the distance. Again, this sense of remembering and knowing who they were was so important to her.
One evening, when we were already resting on the floor of our hut, dead tired, soup bowls in hand, a fellow prisoner rushed in and asked us to run out to the assembly and to see the wonderful sunset. Standing outside, we saw sinister clouds of ever-changing shapes and colors, from steel blue to blood red. The desolate gray mud huts provided a sharp contrast, while the puddles of the muddy ground reflected the glowing sky. Then, after minutes of moving silence, one prisoner said to another, "How beautiful the world could be." Viktor Emil Frankl, born 1905, passed away in 1997. He was an Austrian neurologist, psychologist, philosopher, author, and Holocaust survivor.
Freeling is a song that is written in a tango form, because that was the style that was popular at that time. And it talks about a man wandering through the ghetto, trying to understand what is happening and looking for his beloved who is gone. Boże, ihn geht auf von Gessel zu Gessel und kennet gefinnen kein Ort. Nicht ist mein Lieber wie trockt Männer River, Menschen so hot Wort. Es leicht auf mein Heimatst der Himmel, der Bläuer, wo ob ich jetzt davon. Ich steh wie ein Bettler bei ewigen Teuer und bettel a bissele Sohn. Frühling, nimm so mein Treuer und bring mein Liebsten, mein Treuen zurück. Frühling, auf deine Flügelbläue und nimm mein Herz mit und bring es zu meinem Glück. Frühling, auf deine Flügelbläue und nimm mein Herz mit und bring es zu meinem Glück. Frühling, nimm so mein Treuer und bring mein Liebsten, mein Treuen zurück. Frühling, auf deine Flügelbläue und nimm mein Herz mit und bring es zu meinem Glück. Frühling, auf deine Flügelbläue und nimm mein Herz mit und bring es zu mein Glück.
Capital Letters by Ruth Waisova, who was murdered at age 12. In the camps, children were called by their transport numbers and not by their names. To help children remember who they were, to retain their identity, Friedel would have lessons that focused on writing, their names, monograms, cursive writing, and the alphabet, as you see here.
Here we have another collage. This one is entitled Terezin by Ruth Shachtarova, got murdered at age 14. Ruth came to Terezin when she was 12 years old, and a powerful collage of Terezin incorporates the ledger paper, as in the earlier collages we saw, as the sky, the ground, and the pathways leading to the crematoria. So this is...
And yet this one actually includes the ledger, which you can see up here and over there and on the paths. She chose to keep it to remember.
Yeah,
people.
You can actually read what was written on these pieces. The other ones were it was the back or the outside of these pieces. So.
The next piece is Ani Ma'amin, and many of us know it. I had the honor and decided to arrange it, and so I'm going to play it and sing it for you this evening. Amin, Ani Ma'amin,
Amin. Bemona Shleima. Beviat HaMashiach. Beviat HaMashiach. Ani Mamin. Beviat HaMashiach. Beviat HaMashiach. Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin. Ani Mamin.
These are actually powerful words of hope that the Jewish people has had, I believe, with perfect faith in the Messiah's coming. And even if the Messiah is late, I will still wait. It always maintains that hope and looking towards the future, to life and to peace, and this yearning that our people has kept for millennia. Next, this is actually not a piece of art, but it actually is a list that Friedel, the art teacher, made of some of her students and their ages, and no known survivors appear on it. In Terezin, there were 15,000 kids who passed through that concentration camp, and only 100 of them survived. Yet their artwork and writings live on as testimony to their lives and spirits.
A Girl's Face by Friedel Dicker Brandeis in watercolor. She was murdered at age 46, and this is the very last picture that Friedel did, and it was a delicate watercolor of a young girl's face. Friedel was only there for a year and 9 months, but she gave hope and purpose every single day to the children around her. And we say, Zichrona Livracha, may she and so many others be remembered for a blessing.
Amen.
Now I invite my husband Joel to come and sing Zognit Kenmal, the Partisan Song. It was written by Hirsch Glick, who was murdered at age 22, and he wrote it in the Vilna Ghetto in 1943 in honor of a female partisan, Wittke Kempner, who blew up a German train and helped the ghetto prisoners escape on the final uprising.
Nicht keinmal, als du gehst den letzten Weg. Gott Himmeln bleien, verstellen, bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkter Show. Es wird abheugt von unser Trott, wir sinnen da. Kommen wird wird noch unser ausgebänkter Schau. Es wird erbeugt und unser Trott, wir sinnen da. Von grünem Palmenland bis weißem Land von Schnee. Wir kommen an mit unser Pein, mit unser Weh. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gewurre, unser Mut. Und wo gefallen ist ein Spritz von unser Blut, sprotzen wird dort unser Gewurre, unser Mut. Sag nicht kein Mal, als du gehst den letzten Weg. Gott Himmeln bleiene, verstellen bleie Tag. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkter Schau. Es wird erbeugt und unser Trott, wir sinnen da. Kommen wird noch unser ausgebänkter Schau. Es wird erbeugt und unser Trott, wir sinnen da.
Now turning to the El Maleh Rachamim, God full of compassion, our plea to God to grant those murdered in the Shoah, the 6 million Jews, perfect rest. Please rise as you're able.
El Maleh Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzei Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanefei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utorim, Kezohar Ki Amazhirim, Et nishmat 6 million achinu ve'achioteinu, shenehargu al kiddush Hashem, Ba'al harachamim, yastirem beseter knafav leolamim, Veitzror bitzeror hachayim et nishmatam Adonai honachalatam ve'anuchu b'shalom b'shalom al mishkavam v'nomar Amen.
Fully compassionate God on high, to our 6 million brothers and sisters murdered because they were Jews, grant clear and certain rest with you in the lofty heights of the sacred and pure, whose brightness shines like the very glow of heaven. Source of mercy, forever enfold them in the embrace of your wings. Secure their souls in eternity. Adonai, they are yours. They will rest in peace. And we say, Amen.
Amen.
Remain standing as you're about to recite the Monas Kaddish. This is actually a special version that got put together by Elie Wiesel between the words of the Kaddish, it also includes the names of the camps, concentration camps. So it's a very powerful prayer. Let's join together. Yitkadal, Auschwitz, V'yitkadash, Lodz, Shmei Rabbah, Pona, Ve'alma Divra Chirutei, Babiyah, Ve'yamlich Malchutei, Maidanek, B'chayichon Uvyomechon, Birkenau, Uvchaye Dechol Beit Yisrael, Kovno, Be'agala Uvizman Kariv, Janovska, Ve'imru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevarach, Le'alam Ulamei Almaya, Yitbarach V'yishtabach, Theresienstadt, V'yitpa'ar V'yitromam, Buchenwald, V'yitnasseh V'yithadar, Treblinka, V'yit'aleh V'yithalal, Vilna, Shmei Dekudesha Brichu, Bergen-Belsen, Le'ela, Mauthausen, Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata, Dachau, Tushbechata V'Nechemata, Minsk, Damiran Be'alma, Warsaw, V'imru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya, V'chaim Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, U'yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, V'imru, Amen. Zichronam Livracha, may their memory be a blessing. Please have a seat. I'll close with these words by Abraham Shlonsky. Not only is it upon us to commemorate what has happened and to keep the memory of the 6 million alive, but also to work onto a more just world, a better world, where something like that can never happen again. And together we join on these words of his. In the presence of eyes which witnessed the slaughter, which saw the oppression the heart could not bear, and as witnesses of the heart that once taught compassion until the days come to pass that crushed human feeling, I have taken an oath to remember it all, to remember, not once to forget. Forget not one thing to the last generation, and degradation shall cease to the last to its ending, when the rod of instruction shall have come to conclusion. An oath, not in vain passed over the night of terror. An oath, no morning shall see me at flesh pots again. An oath, lest from this we learned nothing. And with this, we conclude our remembrance service. We leave in silence. If you would like to talk, if you want to get in front of the synagogue building for that, please. And to everybody else also tuned in at home, Erev Tov, have a good evening, and go forth to life.